All right, here we go. Let's go and get this thing started. We only have 30 minutes, so I got to kind of blaze through. What I'm trying to do here is condense, what could actually be an entire day session into 30 minutes. So I'm going to really do my best to try to give you, some of the high level, content here. And obviously, this is recorded, so feel free to reach back out. Feel free to take pictures of some of the slides that we go through. And also, if you'd like, I'm more than available to connect with you to dive deeper on any one of these particular topics. But I'm not going to go super deep into myself and my story because we're kind of limited on time. But I own the roofing academy, but I also own a roofing company, and I've had my roofing company for my construction company going on 18 years now. We switched to roofing 12 years ago, and when we first started, I really didn't have any process. I didn't have much of a sales training system or any sort of you know duplicatable, repeatable process for my sales team. It was just go knock doors and figure out how to sell roofs, right? You're signing contingencies on hail damage claims, insurance claims, and trying to just do whatever we could to hustle our way to success. A couple years after doing that, I really started to analyze my business, and I realized that one of the biggest missing components was I didn't have the ability to take someone, a good character person, someone that fit my company values, and someone that's a just a good human being and teach them how to not only sell roofs, but how to understand roofs and the whole process of becoming a great and successful salesperson. So that's when it really dawned on me that it was the way to get through that challenge was I had to turn my company into a sales organization. In order to build a modern sales team, we must become a sales organization that happens to be really good at installing roofs. And a lot of us, either come from the majority of roofing owners come from two different backgrounds. One is they were a salesperson and they started a roofing company, or they were an installer, they were in the field working on roofs and they started a roofing company. And oftentimes they're naturally going to lead and build their business in a way that the opposite ends up being, you know, um, not fully built out, and they might struggle with the production side. So if a salesperson starts a roofing company, they may have a big challenge with the production side. If a production or a roofer starts a roofing company, they tend to struggle with the sales side of the business. So my objective today is to kind of give you some tips on how to create a sales organization, and that also we're not going to go into production. That's a whole nother session, but where the focus is how do you become a sales organization. A couple of the things, and it all starts with understanding that in order to build a sales organization, in order to build a sales team, you must have a process. Like there's a process to this. And this is just an overview of the process. And we're going to touch on each one of these points as quickly as I can, and hopefully leave a little bit of time for some Q&A at the end. But recruitment, that starts with recruiting. You got to have a process for recruiting. Just doing one thing. I started off just anybody I knew, friends, family. A lot of these people in here, you see my business partner there in the middle, kind of leaning forward on his elbow. I recruited him from Arizona. It's like, hey man, come work with me. Let's start a business together. Let's build a sales team. And a lot of these people came from all different areas. And I'll give you some more details on how to find good people. But early on, it was just me reaching out to people I knew that I thought could be good in this business, or people that I knew that were in the business, and I did my best to try to convince them to come work for my company. That doesn't always work out the greatest, but I had to do what I had to do to try to get my team started. But then what we have to do is create an interviewing process. I'm going to use process a lot because each one of these steps has to have their own individual process as well. We have to have a specific way we interview. We have to have a specific way that we hire people, and then we need to bring them on. We need to onboard them. Now, my onboarding when I was a salesperson was I had a phone interview for about 5 minutes, and they set up an appointment for me to come into the office. I had about a 10-minute phone call in the office. They handed me some polos and they handed me some contracts and said, "You're hired. Go sell roofs." That's how I got into the business. That was my onboarding process. We can't do that anymore. We need to have a professional experience. I know Ryan just talked about the user experience, through SumoQuote to create that experience for your salesperson or for your customer. But we also have to create a great experience, professional experience for salespeople as we're trying to build a team. And then we must have a training program. This is what I didn't have. And there's some amazing, companies on here. I know some of the partners, Sales Transformation Group and Top Rep, and I'm very close, and I've been through all their trainings, and everyone here is going to deliver an incredible, process to just plug and play into your business. We also have our own sales program that we've developed, and we also, help deliver and help train people's sales teams as well. But it all started with figuring out how to create a step-by-step training program. Then you have to, once you onboard, once you build your team, you got to have accountability measures in place. Everything is built on your culture. Your culture drives the success of your organization and the success of your sales team, and everything rises and falls on leadership. We must have great leaders in place. Someone in the organization has to lead the charge. You cannot just press the easy button, throw someone into an online training and say, go sell roofs and figure it out. They need to be led. Somebody needs to be at the helm, leading from the front, taking charge, and making sure that every person on your team has the tools to be successful. All right, recruitment, how to find the right people. There's a lot of different ways to do this, guys. I mean, this day and age, there's a ton of job boards and those sort of things, and you can even outsource and hire recruiting companies that have really narrowed down this process. But earlier on, for me, I really tapped into my personal network. I mean, I started my business in an area where I was not too far from where I grew up, so I connected with people from college, people from high school, family, and talked to a lot of people. The first step is to make sure that every single person that knows that you are a roofing contractor. And then the people that that might be interested in either working for you or coming on your team, or they may know somebody that's coming on your team. You want to actually reach out and do the legwork to get connected with them. Obviously social media is a powerful one. Direct message, I mean, posting stuff online. You can even do targeted ads for salespeople in specific areas of town. I mean, if you're in a specific market, you can actually kind of geo target certain areas and certain demographics and certain age groups if you're trying to target specific age groups. And then obviously there's lots of job boards, Indeed, and all those sort of things can be successful as well. But here's one that I think if you've been in business for a little while and you have a list of customers, something that works pretty well, and that's kind of unique that you may not have heard of before, but is create an ad that doesn't target them directly, but ask them if they know somebody that might be interested in this job. So what we're going to do is create an email or create a series of emails and send that to our existing or our past customer list and let them know we're hiring, we're growing, we're looking for, high energy people. Do a description of what those specific, and we're going to talk about that in a sec, a specific person you're looking for. And don't just ask, hey, do you want to come work for me? You want to ask, hey, do you know somebody that is interested and might fit this description and might be interested in this sort of a job or this sort of a career? Okay. But it all starts with the type of person you're looking for. We want somebody with very high character. That's top on my list. Like my culture is built, and I want to make sure that I understand, the value of that culture. And it all starts with character. Must have a great character, high character people, high tenacity. Okay. And what I mean by that is just that natural drive to set and achieve goals. Okay. I want a tenacious person that just wakes up each and every day, that wants to make things happen and wants to be successful, not somebody who just wants to clock in and clock out and get their paycheck on Friday to go buy their six pack. Like, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody that really wants to grab life and grab the opportunity. The two key factors that we're always looking for is humility and hunger. Okay, hunger ties into the tenacity piece, but I want somebody that's humble. Okay, you don't want a team full of arrogant people. You're going to have a lot of clashes, and the culture isn't going to be where you want it to be. And another thing I'm looking for is a high emotional IQ. And what this means is somebody that is very self-aware and also has the ability to connect with others. Okay, you can teach a sales system to anybody, but if I don't have the ability to just connect with people, to look them in their eyes, to actually listen and connect with them, I'm not going to be really good in sales. So I'm looking for people that match these type of attributes. And as you're building recruitment ads and looking for people, you want to make sure to include the types of people that you're looking for. All right, I'm going to go through this pretty quick here, but interview process. Once again, process. Once you have that candidate, I don't want to just bring them to the office right away and waste 2 hours on somebody that doesn't even have a car, or can't even get up on a ladder, or it has no emotional IQ, right? So what I'm trying to do is kind of get as many red flags out as quickly as possible, so I'm minimizing my time and effort. So you want to start with a phone interview, and try to keep that 5 to 10 minutes and gather as much information as you can and identify what red flags there are. Um, you're picking up on subtle cues. Do they articulate well? Do they communicate well? Do they call you on time? And you want to keep this fairly short, and trust your instinct on that initial connection you have. One of my favorite things to do is when I'm first going to interview somebody on a phone, I always tell them a specific time to call me. I'm going to say, hey, John, I'm available at 4 o'clock. Can you call me at 4 o'clock today? And what I'm looking for is, do they call me right at 4 o'clock? Or do they call me at 4:05, or 10 minutes late, or 3 minutes later, 4 minutes late? That tells me how serious they are. That tells me how punctual they are. That tells me a lot of things as far as the person I'm going to be dealing with. If it's acceptable for them to call you when you're trying to give them a job, they're trying to look for a job for you, 10 minutes late, that's too late. Like, you're already red flagged. It's not a good situation, because how are you going to treat your customers? How are you going to be when a lot more is riding, as you're trying to execute your job? You got to do it the right way, and you got to be on time and do what you say you're going to do. So, big red flag number one. In person, this is something you're picking up. Again, you're always picking up on the cues. What is their appearance? Again, did they show up on time, or actually, before time? I'm a believer in Lombardi time. That's if you're on time, you're 15 minutes late. We're trying to unpack their motivational factors. We're trying to, really understand the human, the some of those attributes I talked about before. And then also we're really trying to see, if they're a fit for the culture in the company, right? So, and at this point, we're not selling our company. We're providing info just so they are fully aware of not only the company but also the job that they're doing. But again, this is really just to see if their culture fit and if their character is in the right place. Third phase, that's when you bring them to the office. And you can do both these in the office, but this oftentimes can be over coffee or something like that. But the third one is in the office. This is where we're really seeing that they're professional, like how professional they can be. And this is where we're fully intending on getting to the level where we can actually make an offer, or they're gone. Ideally, if they're in your office, they've checked all the boxes so far and they're a good candidate for your organization. Now you want to introduce them, see how they interact with your staff, see how they interact with your front desk person. Did they acknowledge them? Did they shake their hand? Did they smile? Were they treating them with respect? Or were they just like, you're an office person, I'm just going to move on and just sit here and be quiet? You're looking at these subtle cues to see what kind of person and character they are. And then also, this is where we're going to do a deeper dive in the full explanation of the job and the position of what they're going to do. Again, this is kind of a brief overview. A lot of this, we have templates, and you can go pretty deep into all these processes. All right, so now we're hiring. Okay, we've gone through the interview process. They've checked all the boxes. They're ready to go. One of the things I had to kind of skip for the sake of time, but I really believe that it's a good idea to set that professional tone. I don't want to hire somebody on the spot. What I want to do is let them know that, yep, we got some other candidates. We're going to let you know in 24 to 48 hours. And then if we're going to hire them, present them with an official offer letter. Send them, be professional, present them with an offer letter. And we got templates and examples of that, but give them an offer letter, make it professional. Again, we're trying to professionalize the experience from the day they contact you, because you're setting the tone for how they're going to interact and how professional they're going to be in the experience they're going to deliver to your customers, right? So I have a couple rules when it comes to hiring, and this applies to sales as well as anyone else in the organization. Number one, hire slow, fire fast. Okay, we don't want to just flood the organization with just anybody who can fog a mirror. The process I just explained to you is hiring slow. Make sure you put the right person in there, because it'll cost you a lot of money, a lot of time if you have a revolving door and you have a lot of turnover. We want to hire character and teach skills. That's where the sales training program comes in. Culture, okay? You need to identify what the culture is that you like or that you want in your organization, or what the culture is before you hire people, because you're hiring people to fit your culture. It's virtually impossible to change your culture after you've already had a full team. So culture is hired, not taught. Again, this whole process, you're looking for red flags. How's their attitude, history? What I don't want is to start getting a bunch of child letters, child support letters, and demand letters and stuff like that from somebody. If they're coming to you week one asking for money, we want to avoid those situations. We want high integrity, really good people working for our organization. And lastly, make sure they come off and you can really feel comfortable that they're highly motivated. See through the facade. And reminder, do not sell your company. I made that mistake quite a bit earlier. I was like, we're going to be the greatest. We're going to be the best company. This, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're selling your company. Don't sell your company. Okay. Be professional, be organized. They're trying to work for you. They should already know enough about your company to know that it's a good organization. If you're just selling your company, you're just selling them, and it's going to create a weird dynamic if you do hire them. So as a interviewer, hiring person, be organized, be prepared, be present, have a process, and be ready with questions, and have a questionnaire for this whole process. All right, now onboarding. I'm going to breeze through this one quickly as well. Orientation. I didn't have any sort of orientation in my organization for a long time, but the very few jobs I had before I got into roofing, even at Taco Bell, they had an orientation. I would sit in, and the manager would go through, this is what the company is all about. This is our principles. This is the job description. This is what all the roles are. This is what everybody does. Have and create an orientation for your company. Day one, they should come in, and somebody, a manager, an owner, somebody, office manager, depending on how large your organization is, should be able to have a step-by-step process to welcome them in and get them oriented to the company. If you show up and you're running around crazy with your hair on fire, oh, just hang out, we'll figure it out, or here, watch these videos, we'll figure it out. That doesn't work. Be professional the whole time. Office tour. If you have an office, do an office tour. If it's just a small location, that's okay. You want to explain policies, procedures, explain production, like get them a full spectrum of what the entire A to Z workflow is for your organization. We want to set expectations. We want to explain their role, explain your role, explain the everyone in the company's roles, and then really start to dive into what their expectations are, what their deliverables are on their job, i.e. networking, if they're canvassing, following up, work days, hours, times, like set those expectations where they're fully aware of what they're required to do here. And then we want to make sure they do the paperwork. Okay. I work with so many companies that don't even have employee agreements. They don't have subcontractor agreements, and they're just hiring people, throwing them out there in the streets. We've got to stop that. We've got to be professional, and you must have an employee or a subcontractor agreement for anybody in your organization that works for you, especially those that are out on job sites. Get their payroll set up. They have to fill out W-2s, and if you're doing direct deposits, or if they're a subcontractor and they don't have a trade name, make sure to help them, walk them through that process of building a trade name and getting their EIN number. Technology. Then we're going to assign them company emails. You need to control your email. Assign them a company email, assign them a login to SumoQuote, a login to the tools, any of the tools that you're using, the technology that you're using, your CRMs. Get them account set up with all those at one time, so they're not having to come and ask you and figure that stuff out. And then whatever associated training is involved, you're going to assign that to them after this onboarding process. It's a good idea to have some sort of a sales tracking. We have what we call our sales team tracker, and it tracks all of our sales. We set goals, and there's a number of different metrics on there that our sales team follows, and we use that for our templates for our meetings each and every week. Make sure they have all the tools they need: a tablet, ladder, the proper cell phone, and then ideally, if you have a workbook or a training manual, that's where you want to give them a training manual. We have a quick template here, but we got this training manual. It's 50 something pages. This is their manual that they're going to get when they show up and they start working with us. Then we dive into training, right? There's 3 parts. You got virtual training. You can either create this on your own. It takes a lot of time. It's expensive, or, there's at least 3 to 4 of us on this organization presenting today that we all have great, powerful online training courses. Not trying to sell mine, doesn't matter. Find somebody. Your best bet is to invest in sales training, invest in having a huge percentage of this whole process chunked out by someone else who has a great training program that you want to implement into your business. Get them started with the virtual training, whether they're sitting in a little room or get a little TV, get a little training room to let them go through the virtual stuff that allows you to expedite a lot of this training in a short period of time. But that's not the be all end all. What we do not want to do is just say, here's some video trainings, go figure it out afterwards. Call me when you get contracts. That doesn't work. Okay. They need support. They need somebody to be supporting them. So not only do you want to do virtual training, the next part is in-office training. And this is where you're sitting in the office with your trainer or whoever the sales director or sales manager is. They're training them. They're showing them all the different types of shingles, all the different types of materials that you use, building roofs, like letting them get a full understanding of all things roofing, as well as your sales process, your SumoQuote process, your presentation process. Like, this is where they need to actually, interact and do role playing and do training and really understand and practice and get to a point where you feel comfortable letting them out into the field, which is the third phase, which is field training. You don't just want to train them in the office and throw them out there and say, figure it out. You must have a process for field training, ride-alongs. There's got to be a certain number of, ride-alongs, or a certain number of leads or doors knocked or something that you got to create in order for them to, get that field experience before they start selling deals. It's in your best interest to protect the brand that you've built. A couple things to be able to implement this stuff. We started by creating an onboarding checklist, and we have that as part of our document vault. So it's a checklist we created that way we don't forget something. I mean, there's 30, 40 items on this checklist. Everything from getting your email set up to your SumoQuote set up to, assigning, access to the presentations and all the things that we do. Like, it's a step-by-step process to bring them fully on board with your organization. We want to create and follow a training schedule. That, again, I showed you that sales training manual. Create some sort of a manual, or again, me or whoever else is on here, most of us should have some sort of a manual for you to use and template for your business. Someone needs to be your trainer in-house. A lot of people try to skip this step, but it's so vital to, if you're going to build a successful modern team, someone in the organization needs to be a trainer, needs to understand how to train and how to implement the systems that you're building. Invest in training programs like I talked about. Have practice sessions on a regular basis, consistent and ongoing training. I mean, just because they got trained and they're in the field, we need to find other trainings all the time to try to continue to sharpen that saw. A lot of suppliers and manufacturers offer trainings as well. These are some of the tools. These are all the tools we use. You're probably seeing a lot of them on this presentation today, but I wouldn't put this slide up here if I didn't believe 100% and have, proof within my own organization and our own success that this stack of tools is unbeatable, right? Start with a great CRM, SumoQuote. As you know, you're going to hear a lot more about SumoQuote today. Hail Trace, if you're doing hail tracking, you're doing, canvassing, it's a great tool to use. Obviously, you got to document Company Cam, and this is where this is the one place I get to plug the Roofing Academy. We help you put all this together, and we give you all the back office operations and systems to be able to implement in your business. And then Engage is one that we're using that has replaced traditional, PowerPoint presentations. It's an amazing interactive presentation tool that really couples well to set yourself up to really execute with SumoQuote. So those are all some tools that we use personally. Culture is everything. As I mentioned before, we want to always set up like a communication group, whether it's Facebook group or Slack or GroupMe or one of those things. Competition, like most salespeople are very competitive. It's just kind of natural. It's the way it is. So we want to try to do weekly, monthly, and even annual competitions with one another to get those competitive juices flowing. You want to do lots of events to try to keep them, engaged with one another. One of the biggest things that we started doing was an annual incentive trip. It's an annual trip. We go big. We either do it. We've gone to Cuba. We've gone to Whistler. We've gone to, we've done a lot of really cool trips with our sales team. You have to reach a certain benchmark of total sales in order to qualify for the trip. And everybody who qualifies, we go have a really good time. And it creates some serious FOMO for those who don't qualify. So that's a huge thing to do. A great way to pay for that is to use rebates from your suppliers to pay for those trips. Quarterly, we need to do quarterly team building events, golf, skiing, go-karting, shooting. We like to do monthly stuff, happy hours, like do stuff that kind of get your team engaged. I mean, I have clients and friends that in the space that literally have a weekly breakfast before they go out and sell roofs. Stuff like that to really keep your team engaged and getting to connect with one another outside of the office. And again, culture is defined, is man, culture is so important, but the two key elements of culture, it's based on your core values. You must have and eat, sleep, and breathe core values. If I were to walk into your office right now and ask the first person I see, what are your company's core values? What kind of answer would I get? I want each and every one of you to ask yourself that question. You may have core values, but is it intertwined as the fabric of your organization? Vitally important. Those core values are everything, especially when you're trying to build great culture, and you must lead. We can't just press the easy button and be running around with a hair on fire all day. People need leadership, and our job is to lead our people, and our job is to develop other leaders as we grow our organization. So each and every day, I want a commitment from myself and from my team and from each and every one of you watching this to commit to growing each and every day as a leader. There's a million leadership books, there's leadership summits, there's mastermind groups, there's so many ways to develop yourself as a leader, but you got to make sure to put the effort in to do that and make sure you prioritize your development as a person and as a leader for your organization. All right, man, I went through that fairly quick. I got about 3 minutes left. But for anybody here, here's my information. That's my cell phone. That's my email address. If you do want to book a call directly with me, feel free to text me. Feel free to call me. If any of these things, you want a little more direction, anybody on here gets a free consult. Feel free to reach out. I have a number of. I'm actually gone next week, but starting next Thursday and into the following week, I have a ton of availability dedicated specifically for anyone who, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this on your or you're watching this on the recording. So real quick, a couple minutes. Any questions, comments, anything there? Uh-oh, Ismail said he couldn't hear anything. And can you guys hear me okay? Looks like we have a good amount of people on here. Yep, we're good, good, good. Cool. Hey, Brooke, Tyson, Caesar, man, there's a lot of people on here. Awesome. So hopefully you guys get a chance. Jump over to the booth. Again, I really hope to connect with each and every one of you. I know that we only had 30 minutes here, and that was definitely pretty challenging and pretty tight. This presentation, we could spend an entire day breaking down each one of these concepts and helping you with that. And again, in our course and what we do with the Roofing Academy, one of our most sophisticated courses that we have is what we call our sales leadership course. And it has all of these things broken down in a ton of detail. And that's just one of 12 courses that we have on our virtual platform, plus the coaching that we have above and beyond, the virtual platform. So if anyone has questions or anybody has, thank you guys, man. I appreciate it. Joe, Tony, Nicole, Luis, the comments are great. I appreciate you guys. Tara, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you got a little value for the fire hose I just opened and shoved your way. If anybody wants to book a call, Sean, what's up, my man? Lindsay, what's up? How are you? All right. So yeah, I got some clients on here. Love it. Love to see some of the people that I've been working with for quite a while. It's good to see you guys. So I'll be kind of jumping off and we'll go out of here. And I greatly hope to connect with each and every one of you. And I'll be hanging around in the chat room for a little bit. Then I'll be out for a little bit and I'll be back later today. So have a great day and God bless. Take care.